Hello and welcome. Well, today, what's the issue on the table? Judicial confusion. I mean, if you are like me, you don't know which way to turn, whether it's left or whether it's right, and who's wrong and who's right. Well, Ejabedu. Indeed, Anas today premiered his long-awaited documentary, which indeed he had put together. He went secretly to some judges, to some policemen, to some judicial services people, induced them with bribes, and he managed to record it, put it all together, and he showed it to the nation to see how corrupt the judicial system is. And it's very disheartening, you see, because our only hope when we wake up in the morning, between the rich and the poor, the strong and the weak, government excesses, and even the average citizen, is that there is one man called a judge who, if you go before him, and indeed if you put your case across, he's going to be fair and either sentence you or let you go free. And I mean, even if you are guilty, you know you had your day in court, so you accept it. But here we are with alleged, bribery, exchanging hands, and people who are supposed to be incarcerated set free because of inducement. Now that is a dangerous phenomenon. That could break any democracy whatsoever. The video was premiered today. The judges involved threatened that they were not going to allow this video to show. In the end, they changed their mind and said, well, let the video show, because according to the Constitution, any evidence that you go to use to try me should be very confidential. So if you've made it public, you don't have a case against me. We're going to go all the way back. Should this video have been shown? Should it have been shown now or later? And what next? So in order to do that, I got a lawyer teacher, a teacher of law, to come and educate us all. I have in the studio Dr. Opoku Aduse, who is a senior lecturer, University of Ghana School of Law, to educate us as to what is happening. Doctor, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Judicial confusion is what I call this, because I mean we are all in the malaise here. So today the video was aired, but I want to go back and find out which school of thought you belong to, because there were two schools of thoughts where one says no, show it now, the other says no, show it later, and so there was a split. Indeed, it was showed. But let's go back, get your preliminary comments on where did you stand when the news broke? Did you say, yeah, well, by all means, go ahead and show it, or no, hold on?
Well, thank you very much. My belief is that press freedom should not be stifled in any way. And unless there are compelling reasons, I always supported the point that it should be shown. Because, in my view, the cat was already out of the bag. We had read transcripts and pieces of information on what it's about. And in order not to keep Ghanaians in the dark and also save ourselves from groping in the dark, I said, let's view it and then see what it entails. And it may actually feed into what ANAS stands for. It's not just about the legal niceties and that kind of thing, but communicate with the Ghanaian population about what he has done. And then the object is to keep us informed.
On that preliminary note, stay tuned. We are coming straight back to find out more about what's next. Now that the movie is showed, is anyone going to go to prison? What then happens? There was an injunction on the premises. What then? How does it work out? Stay tuned. We're coming back. Well, thank you very much for staying. And judicial confusion, we are trying to educate ourselves so we know exactly what's going on. Because 1 minute, judges involved, or Justice Derry saying, look, I'm going to have an injunction on you so you can show the movie, and an injunction on the premises so that they can even host the movie. And then the next minute, oh, forget it. I'm not even going to injunct you. Go ahead, show the movie. Because when I get to the Supreme Court, I'm going to say, hey, I'm a Chief Justice, you have to try me in camera, and you've exposed my evidence, therefore you have no case. What's happening here? But joining us now is my own brother, lawyer Yaopong, who's a private legal practitioner. Lawyer, you're welcome.
Thank you.
But I asked your senior colleague, or your colleague?
At the bar, he is senior.
In academia, he is senior.
He's senior. So, well, I asked your brother.
Yeah.
Your learned brother.
Yeah.
What school of thought did he belong to? And he thought, well, so far as the transcripts are out, let's show the movie. Where did you belong in the beginning?
Oh, yes, I also held the same view. In fact, I actually made it known this morning as well, that I think it would be in the interest of the named justice or judges and the other judicial officers that this particular video was shown to the whole world, because I think it was generating too much arguments and doubts and controversies, and it was important that, the whole world saw what was actually contained in it, so that then the space will be open for proper technical and informed analysis, especially by lawyers and people who have some kind of knowledge in the law, such as law of evidence and trial, judicial processes, criminology, and all that. So, and I, leaving the place now, I think that I wasn't wrong at all. And when you look at the totality of it, I think that the judges who wanted it to be stopped or not to be aired may have a second thought, probably after they listen to a number of those who really know the nuances of some of this evidence, that it was worth showing it in actual fact.
You see, most people have compared all analysis investigations, gone through the medical sector, been to the ports, DVLA, and so there hasn't been that hoo-ha about all these other ones. So why is the big deal? I am from the school of thought that, look, judges are spirits, and they hold democracy of any nation together, and therefore, whether you like it or not, you can't hit them with the same stick you hit DVLA or customs or anything, because then you've hit your democracy. So I'm on the school of thought that, no, hold on till the judicial service clear things, because I thought that, whether we like it or not, the judges are the cradle of your democracy. Even the presidency or the legislature, but that particular group of people is too sensitive.
Well, you see, in actual fact, there's authority for that. Article 146, Clause 8 states that when it comes to the impeachment or removal of superior court judges from High Court, Court of Appeal, Supreme Court, it must be in camera. But the question is, will the evidence be based on the video? I have seen some of the letters that have been issued to some of the judges. Nothing is mentioned about a video. So I think that a few of them may have been carried away, because no mention has been made, at least the ones I've seen, of a video which is the basis of the petition to the president in respect of the superior court judges. So if there is a video, I think it's just collateral, all right, or surplusage. But the actual matter is a petition based on what has been placed before the president and the evidence that has been placed before the Chief Justice to establish whether there is a prima facie case against them. So that video may be a collateral matter. It may not even be relevant per se to what has actually been filed against them as the petition. And so the hearing will be in camera or will be heard in chambers. That is fine. It should not. We should not confuse what happens there with the video that is being shown, because it is not what the extraneous evidence outside where the proper hearing is being heard that matters, but it is the evidence that is placed before both the person charged and the panel that is going to hear the person. That is what matters. So the public may have their own views about all these matters, but when it comes to subjecting what is before the committee or the Chief Justice to establish the prima facie case, that is what matters. We should not also forget that what is being done at the judicial council level, the Chief Justice, the President, is only administrative. After that, they have the right to subject all that to judicial review. And they can resort to judicial remedies to even quash everything that has been done by them.
Let me bring Dr. Dusain here. I mean, can you actually hold these justices in front of any, court without making reference to this video? I mean, that's. I mean, I know we're saying that maybe they have other evidences, but it looks as if, on the face value, that is the evidence. Well, that the judges are allegedly corrupt. They took other things other than what we saw. I mean,
this is an investigation that spanned a period of 2 years. So sitting down in a video for the 3 hours may not give the entire picture. So that's why my colleague was saying that we may have to wait and know what is going to happen before the committee. And it also explains why I believe if you are trying to stop the process, it becomes a challenge for you, because it may not be the entirety of what is against you. And until you go through the routines of appearing before the committee, subjecting whoever did the work, and say that even if it's this video, it has been shortened in a way, and therefore it doesn't give a true account of the things that I am allegedly engaged in. So that's why when they are said to be going to the Supreme Court, normally it's a bit difficult, because the court, such as the Supreme Court, will not be thinking about issues of evidence and how it should be admitted right away, because you've not even gotten there yet. So I think if they take their time, when matters of this nature come, you tend to be doing all sort of things, filing a lot of processes without taking your time to reflect on it. But once they take their time to reflect on it, they realize that preemptive steps are not always appropriate. Mind you, some of the judges are actually not going ahead to use the normal legal system. They are going to go before the committee because they believe that what they've seen, what is against them, will not actually work to their detriment. So that's the way they want to approach it. Others have their own strategy, and that's what we want to see at the end of the day.
I mean, on the screen, just earlier we had some of the people who attended the premiere, and indeed it was very, very well attended. I'm sure even James Bond will be jealous with that sort of attendance, and I'm sure you can run for a whole week and we will still attend. Method of gathering evidence. I mean, lawyer Opong, I mean, that breaches every ethic in the book. I'm in my house, you turn up and say, hey, you're settling a case between A and B. A is my brother. Look, I have X amount here, I have this here. I haven't come to you. You've come to my house. Who knows? Maybe I was in dire straits. Fine, I know I'm not supposed to talk to you. That's what the law says. But I haven't come to you. You've come to me. You've come to my space, my office, my home. I'm a judge. I'm not God. So you can't then turn around and say, well, I went to his house and offered him money and he took it. So all this evidence can't stand.
Yes, I mean, this is a very controversial issue now. The gathering of evidence, the proper mechanism to gather evidence. I mean, if you read Article 18, it actually says that the Constitution guarantees the sanctity of your communication, and that generally no one can interfere with the communication between yourself and others, and even the privacy of your home. That is also guaranteed. But the law goes on to say that except in a situation where it will lead to the prevention of a crime, for example, the breaches of security, peace, and so on, and also the rights of others. But that is all subject to what? Law, and also principles that upon which democratic societies are established. These are all contained in the Constitution. But then, beyond that, I asked the question, and I think the fundamental question is, we should look at whether or not a gift has become a bribe? At what point in time can a gift become a bribe? You see, the technicalities are there.
Let me go back before we come to the gift and bribe thing. Is that, you know, you can gather evidence in a way to prevent a crime. Now, Doc, let me put that to you. I mean, I'm in my house. I was going to do everything fairly. So indeed, you are the one that made me commit the crime. Because if you hadn't come, I would have listened to both cases and then probably just delivered the verdict on its merits. But you come and give me.
That is where I was going to.
Oh,
so let me just.
Very
let
good.
Me just
let you, okay.
So you see, years ago, he just used to call something the objective test, the reasonable man's test, and so on. We've moved beyond that. Now the issue is, if this so-called influence or biased judge gave this decision, will another judge not influence or allegedly not influence or bias give the same decision? If that second judge will give the same decision, then that gift you gave him has not constituted a bribe which has influenced his decision. If an appellate court, let's say from High Court to Court of Appeal, will affirm the decision that the so-called alleged
bribe-taking
judge or influence judge has given, wherein lies the influence. If the Supreme Court or another appellate court will affirm the decision of that High Court judge who is alleged to have taken bribe, wherein lies the effects of the bribe? Because you see, there is a very thin line between a gift and a bribe. And otherwise, you see, and we are all aware of the case of Salah and Atani General, where Justice Apalu was even accused of being the bosom friend of Salah, who was the main party, the Apollo whatever 6 something, when Buzia came in and a lot of public servants were dismissed. And even it was said that he was taking provisions from this plaintiff who was in charge of GNTC. But the judges said that if they were to hold that this will constitute bias, then judges will be will be living in a very secluded, if you like, situation, that they have classmates, they can't come to them. A judge cannot attend a funeral, or if the mother is dead, you can't go and give ensawa or contribution, because one day, if somebody says, oh, I saw Nana 10 years ago giving the judge ensawa, so that is why he was influenced. We have to go beyond the mere giving of the money and ask ourselves, did it influence the judge? And there is a recent case that has been accepted in the Supreme Court. It's called Laws versus Australian Broadcasting Tribunal. It's in the latest Supreme Court cases of HFC and First Bank and so on. That is the standard. So it is not just mere allegation that you've given a judge some money. Did it influence his decision? And will another judge who was not influenced not have come to the same decision? That is the fundamental question.
So how then do we prove? Do we have to take this case to a different court to look at its merits to see that the judgment was right or wrong?
Well, that's the more reason why.
But and before you answer, but even if you find that maybe A was guilty rather, and I find B guilty, does it mean my decision was because of the money, or that's what at the time I thought?
Yes, I mean, that's a relevant question as well.
It's a germane point, but what my colleague is saying, I want to depart a bit from it. That, you know, the position of a high court judge, in my view, is the most powerful position among the hierarchy of the courts. You know, if you are the Supreme Court, there's criteria that you have to meet before you can become a Supreme Court judge. Your entitlements are better when you are the Supreme Court than when you are in the High Court. The same with Court of Appeal. But in the positioning in our legal system, what a High Court judge and the powers of the High Court judge is better and more enormous than that of a Supreme Court judge. You know, until the time we had the elections petition, and then a few number of cases, Supreme Court has not really been a court that people focus their attentions on. So the High Court is well positioned in our legal system to serve as a trial court, to serve as an appellate court, to serve as a supervisory court. So that's the more reason why, if you are realizing that in serving as a trial court, a judge is actually treating evidence in a certain way for you to even go and appeal on based on that kind of evidence, it means that you are challenged. You know, if you go on appeal, you can decide to even lose the appeal, not that your appeal is not good, but because of how crucial evidence that you advanced were not even recorded as part of record of proceedings. So a high court judge is well positioned to actually, and a lot of cases also don't go on to go to the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. Even if you start from the district court, you end up at the high court. Start at the high court, you end up at the high court level. Going to the Court of Appeal will require that the stakes are very high. You are going for lawyers and that kind of thing. You can't go and pursue a lot of cases at the Court of Appeal without a lawyer and the Supreme Court. So that shows the position of the high court in our judicial system. That said, anytime someone adopts an approach to elicit information from you, which you believe is not what you were going to do, but for that way that we are using words, entrapment, and that, you know, I've watched the video. You realize that a lot of the judges basically acted in the way they acted because of how they were perceived or because of how their clerks made people to believe that they are doing. You know, so before Anas will go and do the video, he will do a background checks to know which judge to contact and those who are in that business. Because we've all been in legal practice. We hear a lot, we don't say them and that kind of thing. So he listened to the ordinary person, went there as an ordinary person. And based on his acts, people were freed. I mean, the recent case of Tor, when about 4 persons defrauded the organization by signing their checks to the tune of about 1 million Ghana cedi. It goes before a judge. The one who was freed, that Salah guy, I don't know whether he's in the country or is no longer in the country, didn't know that he has been freed based on an activity by Anas and his agents. He thought that he has genuinely been freed. So all the other 3 persons who were convicted, it means that they could have been, the guy who was freed could have been convicted as well. So here's the case that whatever was given in exchange was actually rewarded. It worked. So that's where the situation is. So if you are saying that the evidence was actually obtained illegally, there are several exceptions. When he was talking about Article 18 and the privacy rules, right to privacy, and there are several exceptions. The same thing goes into when evidence is going to be admitted by a judge. The judges have gotten wide discretions as to why a particular piece of evidence should be admitted or rejected. So in admitting it, the general rule is that when it's relevant. But if you go under the Evidence Act, several exceptions of evidence that may be relevant but can be excluded. But he looks at it and says, oh, it's relevant. I'll just give whatever weight to it and then we'll admit it. As soon as it goes in, it works. So the events that Anas is attempting to narrate and the storyline basically is that he just didn't actually give someone a gift. And then it turned out that the person acted differently or not. He went and studied the cases that were before the judges. This case, you know that judgment is due this day. He will come as a Ghanaian who is related to one of the persons who are involved in the case, in a land matter, in a criminal case. Some were armed robbers or alleged armed robbers. And they said that I'm offering this. And some of the judges, from based on the comment, will say that, I mean, this case is difficult because the guy, he has done it. So, but eventually end up freeing the person. So that shows the connection, the nexus between the Ghanaian who is trying to reach out to outweigh the system and then the eventual outcome. So that's where the difficulty is. That's where people are enraged. That we need to actually look at this carefully. Otherwise, now you may have a judgment from a court in Ghana. If you take it outside the country to go and enforce it, they can use this against you. Because I believe Anas basically is not too concerned with whatever is going on at the judicial system level. Just that Ghanaians want to see results over there. But he wants to reach out to a larger audience. So once they hear it, you go with a Ghanaian judgment, a judgment from a court of competent jurisdiction here to go and enforce it outside. Then you are handicapped because someone will raise those issues. But you see, these are the common practices in that jurisdiction. So judgment from there, be careful. Don't enforce it. And then becomes a whole different matter. And that's the challenge we have now.
But seriously, we all be surprised because when you do your checks, you can see that the Transparency International report on judiciary, even in the UK, people still believe that their judicial service, by and large, is also bedeviled with corruption. It is there. So I think it will be double standards. We know that across, just go to the net and Google. Across the whole world, most people don't trust their judicial system. That is not to say that mere allegations now become conclusive evidence against people. That is my worry. Because we have ourselves adopted a constitution that states that even when the person has stolen your thing in your own presence, he is still innocent until proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction, or he has, in accordance with law, confessed to the offense. But if we just take, however graphic it may be, evidence which has not been tested in court of competent jurisdiction, as conclusive of the commission of an offense, that will also enhance the belief of those who will be engaging in this instant justice.
In accepting this evidence, judging by how controversial it is, how will public influence the judge in accepting it? Looking at how enraged the country is, they say, hey, Adipa, I'm not going to accept it. How are they going to react?
In court.
If the judge, yes, how is it going to affect him?
That is, but you see, if you read the Tagore case, Justice Apple said, he made some profound statement that the decision of the court is not based on the nature of the person or the offense. That the standard is the same for the so-called ordinary person and the influential person. And it doesn't matter the public opinion. And judges have sworn an oath that they will give judgment without fear, favor, ill will, or affection. I know for a fact that at least 2 of the judges have actually heard a case involving one of their own. In fact, one of the judges whose case came before one of those involved here is also part of this one. You understand? And one even convicted a colleague.
Yeah, convicted.
Yes, and I know of a judge whose husband was an ambassador. There was a very important case against the government of which the husband was part. She still gave a decision against the government. This is how we should see our judiciary. You see, and the perception that this will rather reduce for public confidence in the judiciary. I say no. If it had been another organ of government, they will set up a commission to review the decision of the committee and then set up another committee, issue a white paper to cover them. This is another organ of state which says this is evidence or allegation against some of my own. I will just have to go through the system. This should rather enhance public confidence in the judiciary. So I'm surprised that people are rather saying that, oh, the judiciary is corrupt. So some will say we won't even come, we'd rather go to the Bosom 4 and things like that, with all due respect. I think that if you're a serious investor, this is rather the place you should come, because you know that if a judge gives a decision against you and you believe that it was because of influence, it may not be financial, it may even be political. You know that the system will bring this matter up and they will face the full rigors of the law.
I'm going to take a break here. When I come back, I want to pick up on what Justice Apalu said, that regardless of who's in front of me or what the public perception is, this is the courtroom and therefore this is the law. However, if you look at how shaking and how damaging this has been towards the judiciary, should they bend it to save the, to save their face? Look, whatever the evidence, bring it. We admit it. Let's just, bring back our image and repair and restore our image. Don't move. We are coming back. This is Judicial Confusion.
saying there's nothing to be happy about. It's a sad day in the history of Ghana, and we should all be crying, and it calls for sober reflection. You know, what do we do to rescue Ghana from this rot that we find ourselves in?
I never thought justice is that cheap in Ghana, and we go ahead bribing the police. I mean, the police commanders charge better than the judges. I am so disappointed. I mean, I think the one that took the best prize was the one that had sex. Ghana should bow our head down in shame. When I started watching the video, I was like, that is why they take bribes. Because if you see the kind of houses they live in, the kind of couches judges have, the kind of dirty environment judges find themselves, then I guess this is what's going to happen. When somebody becomes a politician overnight, being a politician in Ghana right now, it is like winning a jackpot. Overnight, the life changes, the person have a better house, a better car. We should be ashamed of ourselves.
The Bar Association and other governance institutions are very well placed to take appropriate action, both in favor of those who deserve commendation as well as those who may deserve condemnation. And we should leave it to the experts to tell us what to do.
Judicial confusion. My worry is that there's like 34 judges and 22 this. If it turns out that, oh, we can only hold 6, but the rest should go, are we going to accept that judgment? But just before the break, you know, there's already a precedent that's been set that once you're before the court, we are all equal, and therefore public perception or public influence does not matter. Judging or looking at the magnitude of this case, you think the judge should just, look, just give me every evidence, I'll accept it, you know, and then we take it from here, or are we going to go by the law? Because they need to repair their image. And knowing that if I accept this evidence and, you know, clear, you know, everyone who's supposed to be cleared, to restore our image that, oh, now they're setting up. You think it would affect how they would accept the evidence? Let me start with you now.
Well, it depends on the individual. First of all, let's accept that the matter is not starting from the courts, even though a couple of them have taken some judicial remedies. But the matter, at least for the superior court judges, the high court judges, is being handled now in accordance with the Constitution by the Chief Justice to determine whether there's a prima facie case to be established against each of them. So, and then when it comes to the magistrate and the circuit court judges, a committee has been set up to also determine same. So, until that is done, even a court of law will not start looking at the matter. But the point is that as an individual judge, you have a duty per your oath, which you have taken and ended with so help me God or Allah, or you have affirmed by your own belief. You have a conscience to determine the matter. Because if you say that because this person is higher up, you will lower the bar, but when another who is so-called lower, you raise the bar, you are doing injustice to you yourself. Mind you, one day you also be you also become the subject of some kind of judgment. So I would say that, as far as I'm concerned, let's trust the individuals who are forming the committee as committee members, people of integrity, and it is their conscience that should serve them together with the God they serve, that whoever that person is, let justice fall. It doesn't matter the perception out there. Because if we want to depend on perception, then we will be doing injustice to any other person. And that is why when you hear comments like it's a sad day, this is the scandal of the century against the nation, I feel very sad. Because it means that tomorrow, this same person, when an allegation is made against that person, he won't be happy that people are being made to believe that that is the end of the road. So judges actually are not expected to determine cases, whether at the administrative level or within the judicial setup, according to public perception or the demand of the public. Yes, justice emanates from the people, but all of us cannot sit as judges. That's why we have entrusted that right to people who are trained to determine these matters for and on our own behalf. And it's important that we allow them to do so. I will be surprised that a judge will just say that because of the demand from the public, I'm going to either accept this evidence or reject that evidence so I can serve the public interest. Your conscience will be your guide. And if you veer from your conscience, one day it may also come back to you.
You want to add something to that?
Yeah, what I want to intimate is that, you know, with the kind of training that we go through, it's actually epitomized by a pronouncement by Justice Sacha in one of his cases, that his learning of the law is key. His judicial oath is key in such matters. So I don't actually subscribe to the viewpoint that anytime matters come in Ghana, you have to just wait for everything to be done in a very secluded area and no one comments about, on it. No. I think that judges are very experienced. They can tell the chaff from the wheat, and therefore just a mere viewing of a video. That's why I was saying that it should be viewed, it should be shown. Because here is the case that the committee that is actually going to do the work are very experienced lawyers and judges, and they have access to the video. So where lies the prejudice again? The commentary on Newsfile or on Adum TV? No. I think that they are way above it, because now they have the entirety of the evidence that they need to work with. They will listen to Viva Voce evidence from Anas and have him cross-examined. So it's at that point that they weigh it against the law and decide. So it's not what my mom in the village is watching out there, which is actually going to sway them, because they have good grounding in the law.
But then again, the law says you have to hold these things in camera. So there must have been a reason why you hold such things in camera. I mean, if you're going to,
yes, because
I
of
don't
the
want to say
sensitive
use against it, because we don't know if that's what they're going to use against them. But because of the sensitive nature of them, now they've been embarrassed.
Because already before this viewing took place, the information was out there, the evidence was largely known. So some of the things were basically just affirmation or rehash of what was already in the public domain. And for that reason, showing it, I don't think changes everything at all. It's already out there. If Anas's viewpoint is that he wants to show it to communicate to the entire world, instead of following the technicalities of the law as set out in the legal cases that we have. Some are citing a J. Chum's case and so on and so forth. That once you go through this system under Article 146, and then you decide to use the public to propagate your message or whatever, you lose the touch with the law. He believes that if that happens, then it's like the judiciary is trying to protect their own, and he has finished with his job. He will just move on and go and do something else.
The technicality of the premises having an injunction not to show, and the premises saying that, look, I have a contract with the guy who's bringing the movie. I mean, whose is higher?
The sanctity of the court system is always supposed to be respected. It's supreme, because that's our last resort. We want to go there when all hopes are gone. So that is how you want it to be understood. But the law is also established that if you file an application at the time that a process is in motion, that application, the mere filing of the application alone does no place to serve as an injunction. That's the position of the law. It's different from when the process is not in motion and then you file the application and the date is fixed and set. At that point, then the status quo is supposed to be maintained. You don't do anything that will basically undermine what the petitioner or the applicant is seeking to do. And for the conference center, they were in that kind of position. They've already signed a contract to give the place to someone to do the viewing. They are not actually parties to the action. I'm talking of the substantive suit. They are not defendants in the suit. So they are challenged that an interim order is being sought against them when they have already released the place, and then the person who was supposed to show the video
gonna have to advertise.
No, I mean, it's been advertised and everything. But the one who is supposed to show the video then is Tiger Eye, PI. That person, the application against him has been discontinued. It was a strategy by lawyers for the plaintiff. They have their own ways of doing it. Maybe we are hearing they are going to the Supreme Court. Fine. It's part of rule of law and how we want to develop it. So that in the future, when similar issues happen, then we can learn from it and say that this will serve as a precedent. And therefore, in going about this matter, use this different approach, otherwise your outcome may not be effective. I think that they should have actually gone for an ex parte application instead of going on notice by all means. Because,
Yes, but, okay, sorry. I don't know.
He's trying to come in, but let me just wrap up on it. The point is that conference center would just say that we had already given the place up to Anas. There was no injunction against Anas because it had been withdrawn in the open court and been struck out as withdrawn. So for that reason, Anas then had the venue. We were served the process all right. By that time, the conference center was already out of our control. Even though they are the agency in charge of it. Even if you cite them for contempt. You know, contempt is one of those tricky areas. You then have to look for one of the managers or the manager of conference center to cite him for contempt. Was he the one that the process was served on? Yeah, I don't know who it was served on. Could have been served on any of the managers. But if that person was the one who calls the final shot, and he wasn't the one who was personally served with the process, you are challenged. Because of the high standard involved in because of the high standard involved in
is the judicial controversy. And that brings to mind also the confusion of who exactly is involved. People are saying Anas. I have seen official documents. It doesn't document that doesn't even mention Anas. It's Tiger IP.
Yeah.
So I was surprised to see a caption even in the graphic, Anas can't be found to be served with writ of summons. That is totally false. Anas has not filed any petition against any lawyer, any judge. Anas has not said anywhere that he as a person is in charge of any recordings.
Tiger IPI.
Even official documents from the judicial service, or at least by the judicial secretary, mentions Tiger IP.
As a defendant,
if it is a company, all right, if it's a company, then you must have officers. So if you can't find one person, there are other officers that you could trace and find. So that has to be established. And that is where even the injunction would have failed, because the writ of summons itself had not been served on that party. And without the proper service of the writ on that person, even a service of the injunction would not be effective enough to restrain him. You understand? Those are the technical aspects. But as to whether the conference center could have also then respected this way, I think if an order had been obtained and served on them, that would have been more effective than the mere service of the application on them. Because then you should have anticipated that they could have been a proper party to the suit, and you didn't join them. But those are the technical aspects.
I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I wasn't able to go and watch the movie by my two Lennox brothers here did. I want to find out, is it as bad as we thought it was? Are we blowing it out of proportion? Where does it actually lie in the scope of things? Don't move. Well, judicial confusion is the matters we are talking about, and we discussed quite a lot. With me in the studio was Dr. Opoku-Odusei, senior lecturer, University of Ghana, School of Law. And Lawyer Yaopong was a private legal practitioner.
Junior lecturer at Central University.
Now, what I wanted to find out was, now both of them have seen the movie. I couldn't go and watch it. Is it as bad as we thought? Is this a democracy shaker? Let me start with you. How bad is this video? Have we blown it out of proportion because of the sensitive nature of the judiciary, or it's...
Well, I think portions are as bad as we expected, but not worse than we expected. There are other portions that, in my own view or opinion, if they are subjected to the proper judicial scrutiny, may not be sustainable alone by themselves, may not be able to sustain, let's say, a liability, establishment of a liability against some of the individuals. You understand? But some, even those ones, I would say, may be reprehensible. But as to whether or not it will be enough to constitute a misbehavior properly interpreted in law, which can be a ground for the impeachment of, for example, a superior court judge, I think that without prejudice, some of them, it will be difficult because of the way I have held my own opinion on this matter, that a gift may be given, but at what point does it become a bribe? And as I have explained before, if I don't move from that position, then I will say that there are some of them that are as bad as we expected, but not worse than we expected. And that is why I think that as it stands now, even those that are bad, they still are not enough or conclusive to say that they are not innocent.
Let me bring Doctor in here. Doc, in your view, this is the democracy shaker?
I don't think so. I think, I mean, some of the stories, I mean, that we heard before watching the video were basically emphasized when we watched it. And I would say those are just the recaps. So you saw it in graphic terms as compared to the transcripts that we were reading. Some were not very damning.
Did it add to the transcript? I mean, like you think, wow. I mean, I've read it, but looking at it now, it's really bad.
For some, yes. You know, seeing the person, I mean, as we call it, in flagrante delicto, that way, actually speaking to the video, that one is more telling. But others, is like, there were initial resistance, then they went back, and that kind of thing. So, for those kinds of situations, the amount that might have changed hands were very minimal. But if it turns out that that amount was able to change the course of justice, then that's where the worry is.
Are there some in there who've been dealt a hard blow where it could have been they built an acquaintance, rightfully or wrongly, it was just an acquaintance who built an acquaintance, and I took a pen from you, or you bought me a bowl of rice because of the acquaintance we built, but now my reputation is gone forever? I mean, are there some who've been dealt a hard blow?
I think so. Some, there are cases, I don't want to mention names.
No.
That's why some have not gone to the regular court system. They have responded to a request from the Office of the Chief Justice and want that to be dealt with administratively by the Chief Justice. So it can come that for a decision from the Chief Justice, you can see that some no prima facie case has been made against them. It means that that's the end of their case. But the sad aspect is that for them, their names would have been dragged through the mud for no justifiable cause.
And you know, these things go on almost on every, in fact, there are still pending before this. The Chief Justice even said it at the bar conference. There are some pending cases like that against about 3 High Court judges or so. And as for the other court judges, there are quite a number, and the judicial officers. Except that we don't hear. In fact, one of them was almost removed, but the removal coincided with his retirement. So the executive was unable to sign the final letter. But he had actually gone through the process, and the Chief Justice established prima facie case. He was found to have engaged in a misbehavior, and he was recommended for removal until it coincided. Incidentally, Nancy's project was also ongoing, and he was found to be part of it, to be doing the same thing as well.
Oh dear.
So it is something that goes on, except that we don't get to know it or hear it in public. I mean, quite a number of lawyers have defended judges. Some of them were just acquitted, so to speak, to use the word not in a technical form. Some have been removed. That is why the opportunity to give them fair hearing is very relevant.
Let me give the last word to Dr. Duse.
Well, a quick addendum to that is that if you're a judge, don't trust your clerk and secretaries too much, because they were the main conduits for us having access to their offices. And I think that is where they fell short of their judicial functions.
You know, somehow I feel that this conversation will come back, because every day something else happens. You know, today there's an injunction, tomorrow there isn't, and I'm sure they're going to take it somewhere else. Something else will come which will blow our mind, and we will need education, and we'll run to our learned brothers here and invite them again to come and educate them. But I'm sure somehow we have gotten out of our confusion that, look, the law is the law is the law, and not what we feel or think or do or say. But thank you very much for coming. I want to say thank you to Tanti's Fashion, who sews my shirts, and you can read Tanti's on 024-36-2001, 024-36-2001. Say thank you to Aisha Ibrahim for doing production, Evans Mensa, Malik Dabu, and McBride, who's directing. Folks, this was PM Express. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. Thank you for watching. Guys.